Mist curled around Rowan's ankles as he pushed past thorny brambles, heart thumping and pouch clinking with freshly picked roots. In the green vale, far from even the bravest hunters, only the desperate or the foolhardy wandered this deep. Rowan preferred things quiet, and the mists kept most away. This morning the hush broke. The plants seemed to hum, first almost too faint to grasp, then clearer, as if every fern and blossom whispered a tune just beneath hearing. He pressed onward, boots sinking into moss, curiosity driving him toward the melody's heart. Suddenly, the song fractured. A stag crashed through the wildflowers, eyes wide, antlers tangled with silver cobwebs. Blood darkened its fur, deep unnatural wounds scored its flank. With a strangled gasp, the creature collapsed at Rowan's feet. The music died. Rowan knelt, trembling. As he tried to staunch the bleeding, a chill blossomed in the air. The stag's breath steamed in the haze. Hushed, frantic footsteps echoed nearby, heavy, armored, nothing like the life in the woods. Rowan ducked, pressing closer to the beast. Something moved beyond the mist, voices low, harsh, foreign. "Spread out, it can't have gone far." Panic clawed at Rowan's chest. He could flee, leave the wounded creature, but the forest had always spoken to him, and now it screamed for help. He whispered, "Hold on, friend." A hand gripped his shoulder. Rowan spun, nearly swinging his satchel, only to freeze at the sight before him. A woman stood, battered armor dulled by time and dirt, sword raised in silent warning. Her eyes flicked from the stag to Rowan. "If you want to live," she said, "don't make a sound." Voices drew closer. The grove's hidden magic quivered like a trapped heartbeat. Rowan, the reclusive herbalist, had just stumbled into history's turning gears, and with every heartbeat, the odds of escape slipped. But something in Rowan kindled. The forest didn't want to die, and neither did he. Not without a fight. The armored woman eased Rowan behind a half-collapsed log as the stag whimpered softly. From the mist loomed sharp silhouettes, a trio of hunters clad in ragged black, faces striped with strange ochre marks. They moved with a predatory patience, sniffing the air, blades glinting dull and hungry in the dim. Rowan's whisper quivered. "Who are they?" She pressed a finger to his lips, then to her own. Rowan could see now. Beneath her battered plate, mud streaked over the sigil of a fallen house, a disgraced knight hiding in these woods, much like him. The hunter's leader raised a gloved fist, halting his men. Their nostrils flared as if tasting the grove's invisible power. The stag's life force is close. The master wants it. No mistakes. The knight's sword hovered near Rowan. "Name's Kyra," she breathed, barely audible. "When I move, run fast and trust me." Rowan's knees shook, but he nodded. As Kyra slinked a few steps away, she hurled a stone deep into the brush. The noise shattered the tense quiet. The hunters spun and rushed after it. "Now!" Kyra yanked Rowan upright, both hoisting the wounded stag. Branches whipped against their faces as they crashed through brush, the stag half-dragged, half-supported between them. Behind, shouts erupted. "There! Get them!" They stumbled into a hollow, Rowan cursing under his breath. Just as he feared his legs would give out, a flicker of mischievous laughter danced around his ears. A glimmering shape zipped past, a sprite, only as tall as Rowan's hand, her wings pulsing with emerald light. Kyra's patience snapped. "We don't have time for games." The sprite winked. "You need to hide, yes? Follow." She darted into a nook beneath a willow's draping leaves. Rowan and Kyra had no choice. Dragging the stag, they squeezed into the hidden hollow. Ferns closed behind, muffling the hunter's sprite angry footsteps as they blundered by. In the dim, the stag wheezed, eyes pleading. Rowan pressed his hands to its wounds, willing the song of the grove to return, anything to ease its pain. The sprite hovered at Kyra's brow, grinning. "You two are quite the mess. But you've got luck. Nettle knows all the old paths, and more are coming. Choices, choices." Outside, the forest trembled with danger and possibility. Rowan's world had shrunk to a willow hollow and the ragged breaths of his odd companions. But as the mist pressed close, Rowan realized the grove wasn't finished with him yet. Through pain and fear, hope sparked, fragile as a sprout, stubborn as roots. The willow's tight embrace muffled the sounds of the hunters, but not Rowan's racing thoughts. Beside him, the stag trembled, pain rippling through its sinewy frame. Rowan closed his eyes and pressed his palms to the wounds, drawing on every childhood lesson and prayer whispered in his mother's garden. But this magic, raw, ancient, living in the song of the grove, remained just out of reach. Kyra grunted. easing her battered frame to the earth. She kept one hand on her sword's hilt, eyes ever on the curtain of ferns. The tension never left her shoulders. The sprite, Nettle, hovered between them, feet dangling above Rowan's head. "For a hermit, you sure drew a crowd," Nettle teased. "Stag, knights, shadowmen, what next? Dwarves with thunderhammers." A faint shuffle from the brambles drew all eyes. Rowan's heart thumped as a figure stumbled into their hiding place, young, soot-smudged, and broad-shouldered. He lugged a heavy pack and a half-forged hammer. He looked as startled to find them as they did him. Kyra raised her sword in warning. "One step closer and you'll regret it." The newcomer held up calloused hands. "Easy. Name's Bram. I was fixing the old mill when the mist thickened. Something's wrong with the woods. You need help?" The sprite darted into Bram's face, making him sneeze. Rowan, desperate, gestured to the stag. "Can you help carry him? Those shadow men?" Bram knelt beside the stag, gentler than Rowan expected, and slung the massive beast's shoulders with practiced care. "There are tunnels nearby, roots big as a house, I swear. They wind under the forest. My da used to hide there from storms." Nettle giggled. "Roots and rats, but safe from hunters. Good plan, Smith." Rowan gave Bram a grateful nod, feeling a strange camaraderie flicker between them all. Herbalist, knight, sprite, smith, and one dying guardian. Kyra listened for pursuit, but the shadowy voices faded. For the moment, they were free. They slipped through the hidden tangle of willow and nettle, Bram hefting the stag, Nettle flitting ahead as scout. The root tunnels loomed dark, exhaling earth-scented air and faint echoes of the lost magic. Rowan's fingers tingled, as if the song was trying to teach him a new melody, one threaded with courage and ancient memory. Above ground, the sun melted to a silver disk behind relentless mist. Deep below, in the tangled heart of the earth, Rowan's ragtag band pressed on toward the secret heart of the Shrouded Grove and toward the storm gathering just beyond its borders. They ventured into the sodden tunnels, where roots nodded overhead and the air tasted of old leaf mold and secrets. Bram led the way, hammer strapped to his back, stalwart in spite of the narrowing passage. Rowan glanced at the stag, a fragile presence, ribs shivering, yet something bright pulsed beneath its wounded hide. "Keep your head down," Bram warned, ducking beneath a bough thicker than a wagon axle. Kyra glanced back. "You know these tunnels well." Bram shrugged. "Better than daylight. Above, you see what's chasing you. Down here, it's mostly stories." Nettle darted ahead, her glow casting strange shapes on the mud walls. "Stories sometimes bite, you know." They rounded a bend, Rowan straining to catch the echo of the grove's lost melody. Instead, he heard rough movement, then caught the smell of smoke and oily metal. Bram froze. Nettle's glow winked out instantly. "Trouble," whispered Kyra, pushing ahead, sword drawn. Just beyond their tunnel, angular figures moved, more hunters, faces obscured by cloth and bone charms. They were boiling a dark potion over a small fire, voices clipped and anxious. "The forest's power is dying," one muttered. "The master grows impatient." Rowan felt anger ignite in his chest. He crouched close to Bram and hissed, "We need to get past fast. If they find the stag." Bram nodded grimly. Nettle zipped to Rowan's ear, whispering, "I can distract them, but someone will need to carry the stag. Night Muscles or Big Smith?" Kyra gripped Bram's shoulder. "I'll lead them off. If I'm caught—" "Don't stop." "No," Bram said, jaw tight. "I'll do it. You keep the others safe." Nettle tapped Kyra's nose and giggled. "Humans and their heroin, then." Bram squared his shoulders, then stomped into the fire's light, whistling sharply. The hunters shot to their feet, weapons drawn. "Who goes there?" Bram smiled woodenly, raising his big hands. "Just lost. Any of you know the way out?" He tossed a small hammer into the fire, sparking confusion and yells. As the hunters surrounded him, Kyra hustled Rowan, Nettle, and the stag into a branching side tunnel. The stag whimpered, but Rowan and Kyra steadied it, heart pounding in terror and awe. They hurried deeper, ears straining for shouts. The earth trembled, a strange, wild beat like some old heart waking far below. Nettle whispered, "We're close. The true grove is deeper still." Rowan looked back, pain slicing at his conscience. The group pressed on, bound now not just by danger, but by the selfless courage that only true allies can summon, an ember in the growing dark. The side tunnel narrowed until Rowan's shoulders scraped mossy earth on either side. Kyra led the way, nerves razor-sharp, while Nettle buzzed anxious circuits above the wounded stag. Rowan dropped to a crouch, refusing to let exhaustion win. If Bram could face down armed men, Rowan could carry a dying beast. The tunnel soon gave way to a chamber, a grotto pulsing with blue-green light. Veins of living crystal threaded the cavern walls, humming with the same melody Rowan had heard in the lost grove above. Nettle's wings slowed, her eyes wide. "We're at the edge of the heart." Kyra steadied the stag while Rowan brushed trembling fingers along the glowing crystal. The song intensified, faint at first, then roaring like water over rocks. Rowan closed his eyes, feeling magic spark beneath his skin. Faces and names flickered in the blue glow. Legendary guardians, sorcerers, and folk heroes who once cared for this land. He saw a memory not his own. The first pact between root and flesh, a whispered vow that men would protect this place as much as any fae or forest spirit. The images faded, leaving Rowan shaken. Kyra watched him closely. "What did you see?" Rowan's voice was raw. "The pact. We're bound to this magic, not conquerors, not thieves. These hunters, their poison is breaking the vow." The stag's breath rattled. Nettle hovered at its antler. "If we don't heal the heart, the whole forest will die. The master's shadows will own the wild." A glint to the side, a sliver of silver chain. Bram's hammer left as a sign. He'd made it out of the fight alive, and he was leaving breadcrumbs. Kyra crouched lower. "If the heart is sick, is there a cure?" Rowan touched the crystal, its song strengthening his battered resolve. "Healing always needs sacrifice. The stories made it sound easy, but I think someone has to give up part of themselves." Nettle pointed at the stag. "Not just the heart. The old protectors sleep beneath. Wake them, and the song might return." The cavern shuddered, dust filtering down. Shouts echoed somewhere behind. The hunters were coming again. Kyra gripped her sword. "We make for the heart. Wake the protectors, and hold them off while you work your magic, herbalist." Fear warred with purpose inside Rowan. He looked around at his unlikely friends and the broken land they carried. He was no hero, but the grove needed him. His friends needed him. For the first time, Rowan felt the weight of hope. And he stood a little taller as he led them toward the pulsing center, where the real fight would begin. Down winding, luminous corridors, the world narrowed to torch glow and muffled pursuit. Kyra took the lead, sword raised and eyes bright with forced confidence, while Nettle darted ahead, probing the path for traps or lurking shadows. Rowan aided the stag, feeling its uneven heartbeats sync with the song in the crystal veins overhead, a rhythm of struggle and fragile hope. They came to a fork where the underground world trembled with sleeping power. Bram's scratchy marks guided them left. The humming was strongest here. It vibrated in Rowan's bones, sharpened every sense. "Almost there," whispered the song, as clear as any words. Kyra slowed, gripping Rowan's arm. "If I fall, you don't turn back. You wake those protectors. Promise me." He nodded, swallowing his unease. "You're not falling. Not if I can help it." A sudden commotion behind, the harsh bellow of a hunter, the metallic clang of pursuit. No time for doubt. They tumbled into a great vaulted cavern, roots like colossal pillars, the heart of the grove itself pulsing in the center. A shimmering crystalline tree, its boughs heavy with blue-gold light and memories of old magic. Around it, stone plinths slept, the weathered figures of ancient guardians shrouded in lichen and moss. The stag weakly rose, dragging itself before the tree, then collapsed. The song bloomed in brilliance. The plants above, the roots below, every living thing waiting, holding their breath. Nettle hovered by Rowan's cheek. "You carry both herb and heart, Rowan. The pact wants you. Speak. Remind the sleeping ones." Kyra drew her sword, planting herself between Rowan and the cavern entrance. Shadows lengthened, hunters slipping through the gloom, blades ready. "Do it now!" Rowan knelt, pressed his palms to the crystal, and let the words flow. Not incantations, just raw hope. "We haven't forgotten you. We need you. Help us." The cavern pulsed. The guardian's stony eyes flickered with ghostly light. Hunters fanned out, Kyra parrying the first blows. Nettle dove, darting between swinging swords, tripping a clumsy attacker with tangled roots. Rowan's plea grew louder. The heart tree's song rose, tender, desperate, ancient and new. He felt the stag's life force merging with his own pain and memory, binding every soul in this fight. The guardians began to stir. Stone limbs cracked open, glowing with primordial strength. One by one, the protectors awoke, groggy but burning with the will to defend the grove. But the hunter's master had not yet shown himself. A deeper shadow rippled at the edge, and Rowan sensed the true battle was only beginning. Stone protectors lumbered from their plinths, eyes awash in blue fire, mouths forming words of ancient power carried on the grove's resurgent melody. The cavern quaked as the hunters shrank back, yet not all fled. Their leader, pale and grim, strode into the torchlight. Cloaked in oiled leather, crowned with a circlet of dead thorns, his presence leached warmth from the air. Kyra barred his path, blade flashing. "Step aside," the master intoned, voices dry as old roots. "This land belongs to no one now, its life will fuel me." Rowan felt the words claw at his heart, sowing despair. The grove's song struggled under their shadow. Nettle, trembling, clung to his collar. "He's not like the rest. He drains the pact itself." Bram burst from a side tunnel, face bloodied but spirit unbowed, swinging his hammer. He joined Kyra at the front line, voices raised in challenge. "This forest is not yours," he shouted. The master only smiled. Brave, but pointless. With a gesture, black veins spread across the ground. Hunters surged, clashing with guardian and mortal alike. Kyra fought like a storm. Bram's hammer cracked skulls, and Nettle unleashed tangles of blinding light, but the enemy pressed in. Too many, too desperate. Rowan ignored the chaos, pouring every hope and memory into the heart tree. In answer, the song swelled, lifting old voices, a lullaby from his mother, a promise from the first pact. The heart's light coursed through Rowan, extending into the stag. Luminescent roots climbed the beast's flank, healing wounds, slowing its death. The master staggered as the light pushed back his shadow. "No, the land has always obeyed the strong." Kyra spat blood, pressed her sword to his throat. "Not anymore. Now it listens to those who care." Yet with a wild surge, the master unleashed a tide of darkness, knocking Kyra and Bram aside. The guardians wavered, their fire dimming. Rowan faltered. Yet the stag, reborn in blue-gold radiance, rose on trembling legs, antlers now crowned with living light. Nettle's shout rang out, "The heart! Rowan, you must finish the vow!" Cradling the connection to the old protectors, Rowan stepped between his friends and the master, shuddering with fear and purpose. The next choice would shape the grove's fate, and perhaps the wild world beyond. The cavern shook as shadows and light collided, singing roots straining to shield the heart. Rowan fought to stand tall, the stag now radiant, eyes aglow at his side. For a moment all faces living in stone turned to him. The master's sneer twisted with rage as Rowan spoke. "Once this grove trusted mankind. That trust has been shattered, twisted by your poison," Rowan declared, voice uneven but steely. The song of the grove throbbed beneath his words, fragile but growing strong. The master laughed. "Only power binds. Only power survives." Kyra groaned, pushing herself upright, defiant despite a bleeding head wound. "Rowan, finish it. The forest believes in you. We all do." Bram, battered and gasping but unbroken, planted himself by Kyra's side. "We'll hold them as long as it takes." Nettle swooped down, landing on Rowan's shoulder. "You know the answer. Heart for heart. Remember the stories." Rowan's hands trembled as he reached for the stag. An arc of energy snapped. Memory, magic, and promise all coiling together. He felt himself thinning, roots anchoring in self-doubt and fear, but reaching for hope. He remembered every story his mother told, of sacrifice, of new beginnings after loss, each one rippling out into the song of the grove. This land isn't just magic or strength, it's connection. Rowan pressed his hand to the heart tree. "I offer my memory so the forest remembers what it is to hope." Pain lanced through him. Memories spilled, childhood mornings in dew, dappled shade, a mother's lullaby, each lesson in plant and healing. The heart tree surged, brilliant and wild, its roots weaving through Rowan's life. The guardians stiffened, ancient runes burning bright. The master shrieked, lashing out with shadow. But Kyra and Bram, shielded by guardian strength and Nettle's woven light, stood firm. Another tide of hunters faltered as the heart's song erased despair. Rowan's world blurred. Had he given too much? The stag pressed its antlers to the tree, gifting its own life's song. Both human and beast sang together. The ground trembled. Something beneath stirred deeply, impossibly old. And yet through the pain, Rowan glimpsed something wondrous, the beginnings of forgiveness, ancient protectors rising taller, the heart tree's wounds knitting, and a final blinding promise. The true awakening was not yet complete. The worst was still to come, and Rowan's last, hardest lesson awaited. The cavern was a battlefield of singing stone and shrieking shadow. Rowan staggered, clutching the heart tree for support. Memories swirled. The cost of his pledge pressed heavy, but the song of the grove was almost whole again, ringing with power and sorrow both. The stag, barely more than luminous spirit now, circled Rowan and the tree, antlers weaving patterns of hope through the dust and dark. The master reeled, driven back by the guardian's advancing force. But just as the tide seemed to turn, he drew his own blade and slashed a gaping wound into the ground. Shadow poured like oil, twisting into the shape of a monstrous boar, tusks as long as spears, eyes burning with the master's own hunger. Nettle squeaked in terror and zipped to Rowan. "Awaken the deep roots, Rowan. The protectors aren't enough alone." Kyra limped to Rowan's side, jaw set despite blood on her brow. "Finish this. We'll hold him." Bram pounded his hammer on stone, rallying the guardians. They clashed with the boar, but the shadow beast tore through ancient stone with unnatural strength, knocking defenders aside and sending cracks racing up to the heart tree. Rowan swayed. So much had been given already. He felt hollow, scraping the bottom of his soul. A single thread of song still frayed and silent. His own self-worth, all the doubts and endless fears that had shadowed his life. If the grove was to awaken, it needed everything, even the parts he'd always hidden. He dropped to his knees, tears burning his cheeks, and spoke aloud to the shadows and the light. "I'm afraid, but I am enough. I belong here. I believe in this grove, in my friends. I give all of myself. Awake, old protectors, let the world see what hope can do." A resonance shivered through the earth. The heart tree's roots exploded outward, tangling shadows, encircling the master and his boar with light. Rowan's fears shattered, flowing into the roots, feeding their radiant power. Figures from the oldest folktales, giant bears, owls, even willow maidens rose from the roots, fury and gentleness in their eyes. Kyra and Bram drove the last hunters back. The master, trapped and howling, fought to break free, shadow energy unraveling under the relentless singing roots. Yet as the cavern trembled, Rowan knew it wasn't done. The heart tree needed one final act, a promise that the pact would not break again. He turned to Kyra, Bram, and Nettle, hope and dread mixing in his gaze. "Are you with me? For all time? For the grove?" Bram grinned fiercely. Kyra nodded, and Nettle winked through her tears. "To the end, herbalist. Let's finish the song." Their hands met on the heart tree. The final note was theirs to claim, together. The moment that would either remake the Shrouded Grove or end it forever. Fingers interlaced on crystalline bark, Rowan, Kyra, Bram, and Nettle let the power of the pact surge through them all. The heart tree's light blazed, not with fiery destruction, but with a gentle, inexorable hope, the kind that mends what has been broken rather than simply sweeping darkness aside. The master, ensnared by wild roots, roared as the shadow boar's form unraveled, its essence devoured by the will of the old forest. Shadows shrieked and faded, leaving the man inside brittle and small, gray eyes wide with terror. The ancient guardians crowded close, silent witnesses to his defeat. Rowan's voice was steady, no longer uncertain. "Your hunger ends here. Leave, and let the forest heal." The master collapsed, drained and powerless. The guardians did not strike. Their justice was to let him face a world restored, but forever outside the grove's grace. The last shadow fled, its poison drawn away by the radiant roots. All around them the cavern blossomed. Flowers unseen for centuries erupted from cracks, and the stained moss brightened with the sun's memory. The great stag's radiant form merged with the heart tree, its sacrifice sealing the healing. Rowan felt its presence linger, a guardian not lost, but forever watching in the leaves and light. Kyra, sword lowered, tilted her head. "We did it, or the grove did it with us." Bram wiped dirt and blood from his brow, voice rough with awe. "I could feel it, everyone's hope, all stitched together. I never thought I could be part of something like this." Nettle, shining brighter than ever, danced circles in the air. "A new song, the pacts renewed, no wall between humans and wild now." Rowan looked at each of them, and in their faces he saw change. Kyra's honor restored, Bram's belonging found, Nettle's faith in mortals rekindled, and in himself he sensed quiet strength, roots grown deep within, no longer twisted by doubt. Above, the mists in the forest parted. Sunlight lanced down, golden and warm, illuminating the remade grove. Life returned in a rush. Birdsong, fox kits peeking from their burrows, green unfurling on every limb. The guardians, ancient and mighty, knelt to Rowan's group. "As long as one remembers hope and keeps the pact, the world will flourish," they said as one. Then, like dew in sun, they faded, leaving Rowan and his friends keepers of the new bonds. As they stepped from the heart of the earth into the dawn-lit forest, Rowan turned back, a smile on his face and history's weight somehow lighter. Let's make sure no shadow ever claims this place again. Hand in hand, the four emerged into a world renewed, not perfect, but alive with possibility, and the promise that heroes, even the unlikeliest, can change the world when they remember what connects them to it. The Shrouded Grove's song would never be forgotten.